Before we dive into today's episode, we'd like to take a moment to thank our amazing sponsors who make this podcast possible. First up, we have 3D learning experts. If you or someone you love struggles with dyslexia, dyscalculia, or similar learning differences, 3D learning experts is here to help. They specialize in virtual tutoring for students of all ages, from first grade to adulthood. Their expert tutors use the proven Orton-Gillingham method for language arts, structured and sequential program for writing success, and a multisensory approach to math. This ensures students enhance their reading, writing, spelling, and math skills in a way that suits their needs. Empowering students with confidence and success. That's what 3D Learning Experts is all about. To learn more, visit 3dlearningexperts.com. And when it's time to unwind, why not escape to fabulous Las Vegas with Casa Arce Vacations? Whether you're planning a quick getaway or a family reunion, Casa Arce Vacations offers 4 unique stays at one convenient location. Just under 3 miles from the Strip, choose from a cozy tiny house, 2 stylish studios, or a spacious 4-bedroom, 2-bath unit. All guests have access to amazing amenities, including a play pool, putting green, barbecue, fire pit, and each unit has its own private patio. Perfect for any occasion, they've got the ideal spot for your next adventure. Start planning your trip today at facebook.com/CasaRSA Vacations. Thank you to our sponsors for their support and for the incredible services they provide. Now, let's get back to today's episode.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited today to have my former student, Alyssa Casa, who is on her way to becoming a household name in the fashion world, perhaps the next Donna Karan or Coco Chanel. Alyssa, it's so incredible watching your journey and your mom posting all the amazing things that are going on in your life. Let's start at the beginning. What inspired you to pursue fashion design?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. I'm excited to be here. And I've always felt very drawn to fashion, and I've always been able to sew since I was pretty little. My mom, she was born in the United States, but her family is from Poland and Ukraine. And when they came over to the United States, when they immigrated, they were all seamstresses by trade. That
Oh,
was their job. They ended up owning a bridal shop in Pennsylvania. Our family doesn't have it anymore, but that's what they did. They sewed bridal dresses. So they taught my
oh,
mom how to sew, and then my mom taught me how to sew. So for a little while, I was thinking maybe I would be a seamstress like them or own like a dress shop or something like that. But when I got a little bit older, I realized how much I wanted to be a designer and the one designing the clothes. I didn't want to just make other people's designs.
that's awesome. I didn't realize that. I knew your mom sewed, but I didn't know the history of it. That's so cool. And when I was a fashion design major, I wanted to design wedding dresses and or bras for large size women.
Oh,
um,
cool.
because having been a large size woman or a girl, I never had cute bras. But as you know, that was not the direction I went. I ended up tutoring and I tutored you. So
Yes, you did.
yeah. And in a little bit, I'd love to talk about that some more. But let's talk about what's going on with you. You spent a semester in Italy. And how was that experience?
It was a really good experience. I'm so glad that I did it. It was challenging at first, of course, because I only took 1 semester of Italian before going. I tried to learn all that I could. I could speak a little bit of Italian, but sometimes I'd go to the grocery store by myself and they'd say something, like the cashier would say something a little too quick for me to understand. And I'd have to be like, I'm so sorry, I didn't catch that. But it was an adventure. I was a little nervous because I was living in a studio apartment by myself in a foreign country where a lot of my neighbors or people that I would run into at the grocery store did not speak English. So I
Hmm.
had to navigate all of that and their public transportation, which was a bit of an experience. But it was really uh, a good opportunity for personal growth and to challenge myself. And I feel like I learned a lot about myself in that process, as long as learning within the classes. And we also did a like field trip as a class to Paris, where we went to a very large trade show called Premier Vision, and that was a good experience. And we also did a field trip to Venice, and along the way, we went to the Montclair headquarters, which was a good experience as well. It's in the countryside, which is kind of surprising, but it was nice to be able to talk to all these industry professionals on my trip.
And so did they all speak English?
They did. A lot
Um,
of people do speak English and learn it as a second language in school. Lots of people in fashion will also speak English. It's just kind of like going to the grocery store or like getting on a train. You're going to run into people who don't speak English or speak English but not extremely well.
mhm. And so you didn't stay on the college campus when you were there?
No, they have like affiliated housing, like apartment buildings that are affiliated with the school, but they don't have traditional dorms like we're used to in the
Oh,
United States. So
oh,
I actually had to find my own apartment.
oh, wow.
Yeah, because the student housing I was informed was actually full. I was planning on living there. So then
Uh-huh.
I had to find my own apartment, but my
Wow.
landlord was pretty nice, so that was good.
Wow, that's so interesting. Okay. And so we met because you were a homeschool student and I was a homeschool mom, and that's you were my second student when I started tutoring. So how was your experience? How did homeschooling influence your education and your creativity? And do you feel that it allowed you to explore your interests in a unique way?
Well, I do feel that it allowed me to explore my interests in a unique way because for my mom, she did consider sewing like a class, like part of my education. It was something I wanted to do. She didn't force it on me, of course, but we could focus on fashion design and textile science and construction and working with patterns and stuff like that, in addition to all my traditional education that I needed, like math, science, English, and so on. So I'm glad that she allowed me to explore that. And also being homeschooled, I could like knock out a lot of my schoolwork that I didn't necessarily want to do but needed to do, like that math, English, history. I could do that all before noon. And then I could work a little bit more on my fashion design. And we could also go into things that I just wanted to learn, like behavioral science and stuff like that. She let me pick some of the things I was interested in and then incorporated it into our school curriculum.
And when you were tutoring with me, you were focused on tutoring so that you could improve your reading because you wanted to be an actress at the time, if you remember. I remember.
Yes, I was acting. It kind of slowed down once I got older, and then especially now that I'm in college and so busy full time. But I was doing acting. I believe I was about 9 when I started
Yeah,
working with you.
I think so.
Yeah, and we didn't know really that I was dyslexic until I came to you. Like there were signs, but we didn't really know. And it was hard for me to go into an audition and like be handed a script and told like we're gonna do this scene, but I couldn't always 100% read it or read it very well. And it
Mhm.
impacted my acting in a negative way. So I was able to come to you and work on that with you.
Yeah, yeah, because your dyslexia wasn't like on the super severe side. You were more moderate, but you wanted the improvement so that you could do things on the fly. And how do you feel your reading abilities are at this point?
My reading ability is much better. I now as an adult read books for enjoyment, which kind of surprises my parents because they couldn't get me to read as a kid, mainly just because I struggled with it and didn't want to, or sometimes it like made me feel stupid if I didn't know a word. So I didn't read as a kid, but now as an adult, I actually do read books for enjoyment. So they're a little surprised by that, actually.
That's amazing that you have time to read for enjoyment when you're not only already pursuing a fashion career, you're in school, you're a TA, so you're just or an RA, right?
Yeah, I'm actually an RA, yeah.
So you're like so busy. That's amazing that you would read for fun.
Yeah, mainly on airplanes and in airports and over break and stuff like that, but I find the time here and there.
Well, and most people don't even read on the airplane. They're usually on their phones playing games. So yeah, and that's the thing about you is you are just so dedicated to greatness that that allows you to be doing so much so early in your career. I mean, you haven't even finished school yet. So
No, I haven't. I'll finally be done in May, though.
that's awesome. Your mom is so supportive on your journey. She has always been a huge supporter for you, and she's always posting on Facebook everything that you're doing. So that's really nice to see, her support.
Oh, thank you. Yes, she's very supportive. I love her.
So you worked with me when I was tutoring, and can you share how the experience impacted your education and your confidence as a student?
Well, you definitely helped me build up my confidence because before knowing that I was dyslexic, I didn't, even though I was not severe, I didn't know what it was that I was experiencing, and my parents didn't really know either. And sometimes I would try to explain it to them, and it's like they didn't really get it because neither one of them is dyslexic. And none of my siblings are either, but my cousin happens to be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Well,
there's one
genetic,
other
so
person. Yeah, so I would try to explain it to them, and they would just kind of get confused because they didn't know what I was talking about. They weren't familiar with dyslexia, which would just confuse me as to why I was experiencing this and why I was having trouble reading and definitely having trouble with spelling. I don't know if you like fully remember, but I could read kind of okay, but ask me to spell anything and I just almost couldn't do it. So coming to you and being told like, okay, you do have like a more moderate dyslexia, and this is why you're experiencing these things. It kind of clicked in my brain to be like, oh, so I'm not stupid.
uh,
I'm experiencing like an actual condition that 1 in 5 people actually experience. So that really helped me with my confidence. And then you knew how to work with me in a way to where it like clicked in my dyslexic brain because my parents trying to teach me, it wasn't really clicking, but you knew how to teach somebody with dyslexia. So then we got me past that, like all those trouble spots.
mhm. Yeah, that's awesome. You articulate so well.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Are there any specific tools or strategies from your tutoring or your life that you still use today in your professional and personal life?
Yes, actually, there's a few that you taught me that I still do
Oh,
all the time. So I write with my right hand, and I couldn't remember which way a B faces and which way a D faces. And you taught me, okay, I'm writing with my right hand. So my left hand is a if I make a thumbs up, because B as in balloon goes up in the air. I know you're facing me, so it's backwards, but to me,
uh-huh.
okay, this is a B because it's my left hand. And then a P faces this way because it's a pea goes down in a pig goes down in the mud.
Yeah.
So a pea
Wow.
goes this way. So I still sometimes, if I'm handwriting, which I don't have to do a whole lot anymore
Right.
unless I'm like taking handwritten notes in class, I still have to like stop occasionally and go. So I do that one.
Oh, that's
And then I
awesome.
always had a hard time differentiating, if I can say that word properly, the sounds in vowels like E versus I. But I remember I as in itchy, and you would teach me itchy, and then Eddie, an E is and that helps me remember the sounds, especially if I'm trying to like spell a word that I can't 100% remember how to spell, but I can now kind of figure it out, especially if it's an I versus an E.
Uh-huh. Well, and those are the hardest two vowels to differentiate. So that's
Yeah,
what.
I couldn't tell a difference in the sound in either one until I came to you and you taught me that, and I was like, oh.
That's so cool.
Is your child struggling with school, feeling overwhelmed? Introducing 3D Learning Experts, your child's personal tutor. Our expert educators provide personalized, one-on-one support tailored specifically to teach to your child's learning style. We specialize in helping students with dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, and similar learning challenges. Our tutors are trained to provide effective strategies for reading, spelling, writing, and math. With our innovative virtual platform, your child can learn from the comfort of their own home. No more commuting or scheduling conflicts. Give your child the boost they need to succeed. Experience the difference with 3D Learning Experts.
Well, that's so interesting that like none of your siblings and neither of your parents have it, because typically, you get it from your parents, but that you have a cousin who has it. And I wonder if that is the connection of your dyslexia being more moderate versus, a severe or profound person who maybe their parents are the ones who have it. So,
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. For a while, I didn't even really know like which side of the family it came from, if there even was like we could find out a side of like, okay, this person is dyslexic or maybe. But we know now that my cousin is, so there's
and which side of
somebody.
your family is she on or he?
Oh, my dad's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, um, so let's go back and talk about your designs. So they are featured in a shop in Soho. How did that
Yes.
come to happen already?
Oh, so I've been modeling since I was 9. This is kind of the start of the story because I've ultimately been in the fashion industry for a while now.
Mhm.
I'm now 22 years old and been modeling since I was 9. And there's a lot of people that I still talk to from my modeling days. And I have a friend of mine who I used to model with, and now she's also a designer. And she had her clothing in this store called Flying Solo, and it's in Soho, Manhattan. So I had heard the name before, and then Flying Solo actually reached out to me because they saw my social media presence and asked if I would be interested in having my clothes sold in that store. And I recognized the name because of my friend who had previously sold there. So I was like, yes, let's set up an interview. Let's talk about how this all works. And then the next thing I knew, starting in October, I had my designs with my name on it in a store, and people could come and shop my designs both in person and online, which was really exciting for me.
Yeah, I can imagine. So you don't sew all the pieces, right? Do you have a seamstress who sews for you, or how does that work?
So for a long time, I was sewing things myself. If somebody ordered something, I could sew it, or my mom could help me with some of the sewing, especially since I'm in school, or she could help me with the rhinestoning if it had rhinestones. It got to the point where it was way too much for us to do, especially considering I'm a full-time college student. So I now have a manufacturer, and that's helped me take a lot off my plate.
Gotcha. So for things like Fashion Week, are you still sewing those designs, or does the manufacturer sew individual pieces for you?
The manufacturer is sewing things
Oh,
for
okay.
me now.
Well, that definitely alleviates your obligations, and you can focus on your homework and schoolwork and tests and all that stuff.
Yes, exactly. And the actual like business side of my business. Because how am I supposed to like fully run my business and do like the website and social media and stuff if I'm also spending hours sewing? So now I can focus on like the business aspect and my classes.
Yeah, I found that when I was still tutoring and I had tutors working for me and I was doing the marketing and all of the stuff, it was like two full-time jobs. So I can completely relate to what you're saying. And so as a dyslexic person, a lot of dyslexic people are entrepreneurial, and it seems like that's one of your strengths that perhaps you got from being dyslexic. Um, but maybe also comes from, your family history. And what areas of your life do you feel like your dyslexia has shaped or strengthened your work abilities and creativity?
I think it's taught me to overcome challenges because when I was younger, schoolwork, especially spelling, as we've mentioned, did not come easy to me, and even though it, like, affected me emotionally as a kid, as a grown-up, I've overcome that, and I've learned to overcome other obstacles as well. So if I'm facing some sort of challenge along the way, which you will if you start a business or you go to college, it's learned or it's helped me to learn to kind of, like, overcome these obstacles and still know that, like, things are going to be okay even if they don't turn out perfect or go my way the first time.
That's awesome. And what about the pageants? I feel like that has really like given you a great confidence. I mean, I don't really know anything about pageant world or anything, but watching you as an adult, it seems like that has really helped you. Do you agree?
I do agree. Yes, it helped me have a lot of confidence going up on stage. And then also, like talking to people in this interview right now, there was an interview portion of pageants. So I had to work on that with my pageant coach, Miss Cambry, or I should say former pageant coach, because I don't really do pageants anymore now that I'm
Mhm.
in college. Even though they're fun, I don't really do them anymore. We worked on interviews and interview skills so that I could do well in that portion of the pageant. And then there's also being on stage, stage presence. Sometimes there would be like on stage question or introduction. So you needed to be able to talk on stage. And then I also did piano for my talent. So having like the confidence to go up and play in front of other people. So it was really a confidence booster for me.
Mhm. Yeah, I really see that in you as an adult because like you said with this interview, I mean, you're doing amazing at it. For me, when I first started my podcast, I had a coach who told me I needed to do a podcast and I literally cried. I was like, no, I can't do it, and I needed to learn these skills as a 50-year-old, where
Yeah.
you gain those skills as an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old. So
I mean, pretty much it's a learned skill. It's not always something that comes naturally to everybody. So, like you and me, it's kind of like we had to be taught.
right.
And now it's like even my professors see it because I was asked by one of my professors if I could speak on stage at what's called Admitted Students Day.
Mm.
That's where, like in the spring, students who got their acceptance letters and are going to start in the fall can come to kind of like this big open house on campus and talk to current students and professors, and they can come with their parents. It's a really good time and a good experience. So they asked me like, can you speak on stage as a current student and we'll let the admitted students like ask you questions and raise their hands and talk to you for like a little over an hour. I'm like, sure, I'll talk to these kids. Or I shouldn't say kids because they're 18, but you know what I mean. College kids and their parents. And, I know they're all very nervous and answer their questions and talk about my experience and New York City and college life and whatnot. And after I finished, my professor was like, "You did a great job." I was like, "Oh, thank you so much."
Well, and even that, you're able to just say, oh, thank you so much, where most people are like, no, oh, you're welcome, so that's just a whole nother level of confidence. And, having been born and raised in New York, I didn't really think about what a big experience and change that must have been for you moving from Las Vegas in the suburbs with your mom always around to um the big city all by yourself.
It was a transition, especially since like I didn't grow up with public transportation. Here in Las Vegas, it's like we just drive everywhere. So going to New York, it's like I had to navigate the subway systems and take a subway by myself for the first time ever. So that was a big transition.
Yeah. I can't relate at all because I was on the subway by myself at age 10.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I took the subway from school home every day. Um, so yeah, but yeah, I'm sure that is a really big change coming from, like you said, the suburbs and being driven every place. And as you finish up with FIT this year, what's next for you? What do you have planned?
So I have made the decision that I'm just going to focus on my brand, Alyssa Casa Designs, full time after I graduate. So I'm not looking for a job like a lot of my peers are, like a job after graduation. I'm going to focus on Alyssa Casa Designs full time. I'm very excited. I'm also very grateful that I'm able to do that and to be self-employed and follow my dreams and my adventures. So that's what's next for me.
And so where will you just like focus on drawing? Is that what you mean by focusing on your designs, or how does that, what does that look like?
So more so growing the business
Oh,
itself.
so the marketing aspect.
Yes, the marketing, the social media. I've gotten in a few bigger magazines lately, thankfully, so more people are seeing my name and I am getting some more orders, thankfully. So it's more so like growing the business. A thought that I did have, I haven't 100% decided on this. I have thought about going to get a MBA, a Master's in Business Administration, so that I could learn a little bit more on the actual business aspect of running a clothing company. Not something I'm certain I'm going to do. I have taken business classes in the past, excuse me, like Business 101 and accounting and all of that. But it was a thought that I did have about getting an MBA, possibly.
Well, that's very ambitious of you.
Thank you.
Um, I was also wanted to be a business major at one point, and then when I found out how much math was involved, I said, forget that. So, and
Yeah.
I ended up taking a course for, small businesses. So that might be, something. There's so many different places online that you can take business classes and not have to get the whole gamut of the degree. And I mean, unless math has gotten to be something that you enjoy doing, but otherwise, I don't know.
Yeah, I can do it. I don't quite enjoy it. I wouldn't say that. I mean, I can do it and get a decent grade in the class. I can do that much. I have also thought about just taking like some online business classes. I did take actually starting a small business class last semester, and those have been really helpful. So it's like I could just take a few classes here and there online that I think would help me instead of going for the full MBA, but I
Mhm.
haven't fully made a decision yet.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? You have all the time in the world to decide that. You don't have to do it straight out of college either. So,
That's true. That's definitely true. Like I said earlier, I'm only 22.
right. Yeah. And you've done a lot more than your average 22-year-old. So,
Thank you.
so what would you say to parents and students who are considering dyslexia tutoring with my company, and but might be hesitant about it?
I would say to go for it because, in all honesty, when I was about 9 and my mom first brought me to you, at first I felt a little embarrassed, like, oh no, like I need tutoring and like my siblings and my friends do not. But don't be embarrassed because it's not your fault that you have dyslexia or any other condition for that matter if you have a different learning disability. It happens. You didn't do anything to cause it, certainly. And lots of people do need tutoring. I needed tutoring. And now I'm going to college in New York City and I'm in the top 10% of my class now as a senior. And I might be going to grad school. So it doesn't mean anything. It won't mean anything into adulthood. It just means that your brain learns differently and you might need to be taught in a way that your brain can understand it, like I did.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. And finally, what's one thing you'd like people to know about you and your journey that they might not know or see from the outside?
Oh, I feel like a lot of people don't always know what's going on behind the scenes. Like, have to sit on my laptop and do all kinds of work for, like, my website and social media, and talk to my manufacturer, and talk to, the production people that are putting on fashion shows. I have to talk to my models that I've hired. It's a lot of me, like, sitting on the computer and on my phone, and not necessarily the fun stuff, like actually designing or picking out fabrics, even though I get to do that as well. So I always have, like, a million little things to do, so sometimes I have to sacrifice, like, what other 22-year-olds are doing, like, going out every Friday night is just something that I can't really do at this time in this stage of life because I always have so much work to do, but it's a choice. I'm choosing my future and my business. I still have fun time, I still have a social life, but I also have to do a lot behind the scenes that I feel sometimes people forget.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's such great information because it's true. Like people don't realize that there's a lot of work that goes into the beautiful pictures that you see at the end of all of the work that has to be done.
For sure. I feel like that goes for a lot of entrepreneurs and small business owners. There's always a lot of work to be done.
Yeah. Yeah. People always would come visit us in Vegas and think we didn't work because we were self-employed, my husband and I. And it's like, yeah, we work. It's just
Yeah.
that, we don't necessarily clock in and clock out. So,
Yeah, like it's not 9 to 5, that's for sure. Sometimes I'm doing random work at like midnight to 2 in the morning.
right.
And then I have like a random Tuesday off where I hang out with my family. But yeah, I definitely work.
Well, Alyssa, thank you so, so much for doing this interview. Like I said before we got started, I'm so grateful that you did this interview with me before you are so big that you won't even have time for me. And I'm really hoping 99% sure I'm going to be able to be one of your models in Paris in October. And I'm just so excited. I'm like, I've done the backstage part of the fashion week in Los Angeles, and so I look forward to being able to do it on the front end and be able to model one of your outfits. So I'm really excited.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me. And I'm also very excited for that too. I hope it happens. Very excited for Paris in October. At the time of filming this, it's January, and I have New York Fashion Week next month in February, so I'm also looking forward to that. So very excited things coming up. So excited that you're considering modeling for me. And of course, thank you for having me on the show because, when I was 9 years old and kind of struggling and thought maybe I was like dumb or something, you really helped me. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. Is your mom home? Would she
She is home.
would she peek and say hi?
No.
No.
Can you come here? She can hear me.
I put her on the spot.
Yes.
Do you mind
My
saying
what?
Will you say
saying
hi
hello?
to the audience?
Hi, Miss Jess.
Hi.
Miss you.
How are you, Wendy?
I am just as well as a mother could be. So happy all
Oh,
my children are happy.
that's awesome.
Thanks,
So
Mom.
proud of Alyssa and all that she's accomplished and all that you've done to help your kids become so amazing.
Well, thank you so much. And I'm so thankful for you to being part of her journey. I mean, can you imagine the little girl that hated reading is now on the dean's list in a highly rated college? I mean,
That's
I
so
got
awesome.
all A's
And
last semester,
that is amazing.
and I was taking Italian too.
Wow. So that you can go back to Italy this time. And
Yes, I'd like to definitely work more in Milan and maybe do Milan Fashion Week in the future.
nice, nice. That's awesome. Well, thank you both for coming on to my interview. And I can't wait to see you guys in Paris in October.
Yay!
for sure. We'll have fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.